Hello everybody, welcome back to Noita Everyday, aka the series where I've started just talking about Minecraft lore because I have nothing better to say. I don't have as much time to do anything, but I have gathered a couple of thoughts again about the types of magic in the game. Because from what I can understand, there's at least more than one now that I can see. Obviously, soul magic. That one's pretty obvious. It's used in potions, it's used in... well, that's about it. End crystals too, I guess, but mostly just the potions thing. I guess evokers utilize soul magic to make vexes and evoker fangs, which they can then use to kill you. So, you know, that's what that does. But then there's other magics, because quite clearly there's more than just soul magic. If that wasn't the case, then we wouldn't have things like, whatchamacallit, the frickin', you wouldn't get experience points from everything that you do, like mining and smelting. Although that might just be a different magic source or energy, magic energy. I don't know. It has to be some kind of other magic. It's a different form of magical energy, because soul magic is dropped from things that you kill. And last time I checked, coal and copper and iron aren't living things. So, it seems evident that there is more than one type of magic. We just don't know what the other type would be called. We just know it's another kind of magic. Now that I've got that cleared up, I'm going to talk about another piece of evidence that sort of supports this small little mini theory about the magic having variants. It's the skulk. Skulk will only grow when a catalyst receives experience from a slain enemy nearby it. It does not work. It does not grow if you break like a block of coal, or you smelt something in a furnace. It only ever grows if you kill something near it. Now, you could equate that to the skulk assimilating the corpse. However, no experience would be dropped from the monster, and instead experience would be dropped when breaking the skulk itself, which would mean that skulk is similar to soul sand in that it contains some form of soul energy. It can't grow netherwort, which means that either it's not concentrated enough or it's a different form of energy. So, you know, something like that. Very clearly, it could mean that experience isn't a representation of soul magic, but it's just a form of magical energy. In which case, I mean, yeah, that would make sense. But in that case, it would also mean that a lot of other, like, magic things wouldn't be soul-based, like, what's it called? Enchanting wouldn't be soul-based if that were the case, which I'm not sure if it is the case. It could be, it could not be. It could be not, I don't know. There's not enough evidence that I have gathered to prove it or disprove it yet. Well, there is some that suggests that it is, but nothing to outright prove it. Anyhow, it seems to be the case, from the evidence that we can gather, that there is soul magic and at least one other type of magic. Maybe more. It seems like it's drawn from the environment, so you could just call it environmental energy. I'm not really sure what you could call it other than that, since it doesn't seem like there's another accurate way of describing it. So for now, we'll just call it environmental magic, since you gather it from environmental things, like smelting stuff down. I guess you could call it literally just experience, because that's what it is. Smelting stuff causes you to gain experience points, which are a representation that you have experienced something. Kind of like work experience or something, I don't know. This is my running theory with this. It has some credence. Hopefully it's enough. I feel like experience as an overall form of magic isn't explored very much in Minecraft, since the only things that ever use it are obviously enchanting, and anvils, which require experience to be utilized in order to either repair stuff or combine them, which grindstones do without costing experience, in fact even grant it, which makes me think that enchantments utilize magic. Well, that's obvious. I'm being stupid. It's an enchantment. Of course it's magical. It's not that it makes me think they use magic. It's that they think that you don't need experience to combine things and repair them. It's not required. It's just used in an anvil for more effect so that you don't lose the enchantments. Which means when combining two things that have an enchantment, it actually could destroy the enchantment, which you can see in your inventory if you combine two damage durability things without the same enchantment. It will delete it if one has an enchantment and the other does not. Which is cool and all, but, like, doesn't really matter because it doesn't really give us evidence for anything else. What the fudge? Hey, look, I found a visual glitch with add mana. Neat. Oh! Okay, well, somebody report that. Add mana has a little visual bug. It's probably not that important, but, you know. It would be nice to not have to try and read that projectile modifier. Anyway, Minecraft lore. It seems like a lot of things really seem to be the case in Minecraft, and there's some evidence for it, evidence against it. It's whatever you can make of it, really. That was the main theory I had that I was going to talk about. Talked about it. Let's see. Right, Skulk, Warden. So, when interacting with Warden-related stuff, or I guess when looking at Warden-related stuff, because there isn't very much in the game. There's about 2 total things that are related to the Warden, that being overall the Skulk and a specific pottery sherd, that being the Mourner sherd, which depicts the Warden. And yes, it is the Warden. It looks like it. It has the freaking little ear-looking things, so unless it's a different mob variant that the Warden... it's what the Warden originally was, which I doubt because there's no other evidence that would support that. Plus, Wardens are infinite, and there wouldn't be an infinite amount of these other things, especially considering they would have died, blah, 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 blah. The Warden must have been constructed by the cities, the people in the ancient cities. They made the Skulk. There's a very high likelihood that the Skulk is a created thing. Not dissimilar to golems, I guess. But they probably figured out very quickly that it was not a good idea to try to, I guess, use that thing. It was not a good idea to try and use something that attacks anything that makes a sound or vibration. So they ended up using wool in their cities, and they have watchtowers and everything. The ancient cities are by far the most advanced civilization, by the way. There is no other civilization in the game that has any usage of redstone whatsoever. Whilst the ancient cities happen to be at the very center, those big frickin' portal-looking things, those have entire redstone sections inside of them, embedded within the thing, hidden, using piston doors and showing how targets and lecterns work. And it's very, very cool, but it also gives us evidence toward the ancient cities themselves being one of the most advanced civilizations when they were alive. Or when the people in them were alive. Also, considering the architecture there, they were likely 2 blocks, or I guess 2 meters, approximately tall. Because most of it allows for mostly 2-block tall people. Now, there are sections that allow for 3-block people, like those super long walkways that have 3-block tall areas that have wool that you walk on. You probably know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you haven't played Minecraft enough, or just haven't seen that, or I'm just bad at describing it. All of those could also be the case, who knows. You probably will, because you're watching the video. Ooh, long distance gas, that's fun. I'll buy it. Can't afford that, but it would have been nice. I'll take greed. Anyway, It seems very, very likely that the people inside of the ancient cities, the ancient cities are the most advanced technologically in Minecraft before they got frickin' annihilated. Now, they would still be the most technologically advanced, except they are all dead. We do not see a single living thing in that biome. We do see a lot of skulk, though. Also, the skulk sensors in those biomes are the only one, or not skulk sensors, the skulk shriekers in that biome are the only ones capable of summoning. Well, not in that biome, but the naturally spawning ones are the only ones capable of summoning in wardens, which would probably mean that they are constructs built to listen to specific sound, and then when that sound occurs, they react to it, that being the shrieker. If that is the case, then obviously they have to be constructed in order to follow that particular sound, so it would make sense that moving the shrieker and placing it somewhere else would not cause the warden to work, because you can't just grow new ones. That they don't work if you break a shrieker. Perhaps if tampering with it, destroys the shrieker's functionality, which, you know, would make some amount of sense. Obviously, picking it up with Silk Touch probably wouldn't damage it very much, but perhaps it removes its magical functionality since the experience points from it. Maybe it just removes. I don't know. That one's actually a different point entirely. Like, I don't know how I could even prove that. If the wardens are constructs, it would make sense that they could be trained or specifically built to follow a set of instructions. Considering that they drop a scope catalyst, they're either built with that as a part of them, and it's connected to the shriekers in that biome, and moving them disconnects it, which might make sense. It seems to. That's where my brain is connecting the dots, or where I am connecting the dots. But then again, if the Skulk Catalyst is a part of the Warden, it should be able to cause growth around it from the Skulk. And wouldn't new Shriekers grown from a Catalyst still be connected to that Warden? Or, I guess, to those Wardens, considering that there are definitely more than one. Also, I am very flummoxed by this Flummoxium. Why give that to me? Such flummoxing material. Anyhow, back to talking about Minecraft, because it's very interesting, and I'm very, very curious if people have thoughts on this. Because I certainly am confused. I want to know more, but it is very hard, because it doesn't make much sense sometimes. We know that the Warden, that the Warden was made, and people in other civilizations knew about it. And we know for a fact that they know this, because you cannot get that pottery sherd anywhere inside of ancient cities. So, either the people inside of ancient cities lived in more than one place, or other civilizations saw the Warden and interacted with it, and had to deal with it. Considering it's called a mourner, it could be a representation of the fact that it is made out of experience and soul, and is a sort of mourning thing. It's depressed, defending an ancient city. It could be that the ancient civilizations were destroyed, and people saw the Warden after their downfall, and then created the pottery sherds after that. Really, there's a lot of different potential things that could be the case. These are just theories I'm proposing because, to be honest, they could be true, and they could also be completely stupid and not correct at all. That's the issue. I just have no frickin' clue. Okay. So back on to that statement, many of the pottery sherds in the game provide evidence towards some theories. Now, there's a bunch of them that have literally no point of existing in the game. Like, they don't actually add lore to it, just that these societies were intelligent and looked similar to Steve at some point. The player character, since Steve is just the name of one of the skins. That doesn't necessarily mean they were always like that or remained like that permanently. Which, you know, is one of the theories of all time, and probably the case, because Enderman theory that I proposed last time might be true. The idea that Endermen themselves are or were once a part of a civilization that modified themselves in order to be different and traverse dimensions. I feel like that makes the most sense because the only way to access the end is through an Enderman's pearls combined with the end portal frames. Obviously, you also need blaze rods to use it because, well, you can't make an Eye of Ender without them. And also, the portal frames themselves are made out of endstone and another weird material that we literally see nowhere else in the game. So it would require you to go to the end first in order to get those materials, since they don't exist in any way, shape, or form in the overworld. They literally do not. It's impossible to get them there. The only places where pearls naturally generate are inside of structures that have chests with them in them. And in the very rare case, or I guess not very rare case, but in the case where you get a villager, a cleric in particular, to a specific level, it has a chance to sell you ender pearls. Which is a proof against the theory that they are pacifists, which, you know, literally can't be true because they have butchers. And I don't know if you know this, but pacifism generally does not let you kill anything. At least not in the traditional sense. In Noita, you can kill everything as a pacifist. You just have to do it in a particular way so that it's not your fault. Or not. Or at least so that the game doesn't consider it your fault. Because it is still your fault, just the game doesn't care. True pacifism would require you to actually pay attention and not kill anything, not get anything killed on purpose, etc. It's difficult. In fact, very, very difficult. Obviously, the villagers in Minecraft would be able to do it if they didn't have butchers. They definitely would have already have that as like a thing that they are, that we know that they are, that we would call them. But they are... But they aren't pacifists. They literally can't be. Simply because of what they do. Oh, frick, I didn't realize I could buy more. Okay, we're buying pinpointer. Not buy, but take. Yes. Death to my enemy. I always forget that these guys have so much effing health. There we go. Haha. Now. The end can only be entered by using methods that require you to have been to the end before, or have had somebody been there before, because you can't get endstone in any other way. Which would mean that Endermen have either always existed, or came into existence because some of the ancient civilizations decided to physically modify themselves utilizing soul magic. And the support for this was the experience points that they drop being greater than other enemies, because you need a lot of magic in order to make yourself a giant teleportation being capable of moving through dimensions at a whim. Why their weakness is water, I have absolutely no idea. I literally cannot think of a single reason as to why that would make any sense. Except for perhaps it relating to the magic that they use to transform themselves, if that were the case. You know, it could be that the Endermen were the people in the ancient cities. Oh, frick. Well, it wouldn't make much sense, though, since they do have water, and Endermen don't like water, and cities themselves don't seem to be built for 3-block-tall architecture. Or maybe they moved out of them the instant they transformed, if they did so. Which, you know, maybe, maybe not. I have no idea. I have an idea, but I don't know if it's the case or not. That's basically what this boils down to. Could be the case. Could also be completely wrong. Usually I'm wrong. Not like self-deprecation or anything. Genuinely, I am very rarely perfectly correct in this kind of statement. Cool, we got all of them. Okay, we do this. And yeah, it's reasonably fast, but we can make it faster. Okay, let's not make it faster until we have something else to help us with it. Okie dokie. Through the next biome! I'm gonna die again. I don't know. Somebody help me out here. Is there any evidence as to what the Endermen were originally? Or maybe how it was possible to access the end without going there in the first place? Because maybe Endstone itself was constructed out of magic. I mean, there's no evidence for it, so it doesn't seem likely, but there's not really another way that the entire end biome could just suddenly have been entered without having access to Endstone in the first place, or without teleporting there by being a multi-dimensional creature. Maybe Endermen existed beforehand, and they utilized magic to turn themselves into Endermen at the cost of their, maybe, sanity at some point. Since Endermen don't seem very sane and intelligent anymore, but they are able to modify the world around them, blah, blah, blah. Maybe their intelligence degrades over time while you're an Enderman and you have to do particular things to keep it. Or maybe future generations of Endermen just did not retain the intelligence of the previous species. Of their parents, I guess. It's hard to tell. The Endermen could be just an entirely separate group, which seems to be the most likely thing. They could also be the exact same thing that I proposed, which would be cool, but also it's kind of unrealistic to think that that would be the case. It's not very likely, basically. These are on a timer, not a trigger, so it's a little bit annoying. Okay. Really, I cannot think of an effective, theory for this. There's no real good theory behind this one. Let's be real here, folks. Why did I suddenly switch to the goofy voice? I felt like it. Tends to be the thing that I like doing. Voices are funny. Provide something to do while I think. Kind of hard to think of a way that Enderman... How could you possibly access the end without access to Enderman in the first place? Because obviously you can't trade for the pearls if nothing at all can gain access to Enderman. You can't get them from chests since that doesn't happen if Endermen don't exist. You can't get the Ender Pearls or anything. Obviously, the easy part would be the Blaze Rods, since that can be accessed through just Obsidian. But what else could possibly give you a way in there? Maybe the end was accessed through the power of grabbing an Enderman and waiting until it teleports? I just don't know. And that's one thing that we just don't have the evidence for yet. Maybe we will someday, though. That'd be a cool thing to get evidence for. I would quite like to know about that stuff. Why is this not home? I forgot to put homing on this. I am so smart. My brain is big and smart. Oh wow, I forgot about gas fire. So good. Very, very useful perk. Homing. There we go. I will take Tinker Everywhere. I will take that one. Okay, teleportitis is garbage. Everybody knows that. Sucks. Let's just get out of here fast so I can win. Okay, I'm not fighting that crap. Why is there a worm here? I'm gonna let him do his thing. Hold on, let him cook. As they would say in the young... Oh! as the young'uns would say. Made it pretty far there. Anyway, if anybody else has theories that could support or potentially completely deny this or evidence for it, please do tell me in the comments, because I would like assistance with this. I don't know everything, I never will, but I want to figure out Minecraft's lore. I want to understand its magic system more, because it's very, very weird and very, very interesting. Anyway, that's all for my ramblings and playing Noita at the same time. Probably focus more on the game than the ramblings, but honestly, I really just like talking sometimes, which is surprising. YouTube things or whatever, I don't know. Most importantly, though, have a nice day. Bye!